Yo, what's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy, Kevin Forte, and we are taking a look today at a pretty big trade here on the NHL Draft Day. The Buffalo Sabres have traded Rasmus Ristolainen. We'll be taking a look at that in this video. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL and more trade alerts just like this one, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. And let's take a look at this big trade between the Buffalo Sabres and the Philadelphia Flyers. So, pretty big trade. Rasmus Ristolainen, really since last trade deadline, there's been a lot of talk about Ristolainen getting traded out of Buffalo, and the Sabres really weren't getting the prices that they wanted for Risto. And now here, a year out from free agency, Ristolainen has now been traded. And the Philadelphia Flyers, you kind of had a feeling that stuff was going on at Philadelphia, more specifically the other day with the Shane Gostisbehere trade. I know they wanted to get rid of that cap hit, but you knew that something was on the horizon. They were creating space in the roster, and they were also moving cap space, and they were able to acquire somebody that could help them here next season, and he fits in pretty well. We know that the Flyers were looking to add defense this summer, and they were able to acquire Ryan Ellis in that three-way trade where they lost Philip Myers and Nolan Patrick via that trade route. But now looking at a situation now where they acquire another defenseman. So just to recap what they've done this offseason. So they've moved out Philip Myers and Nolan Patrick. They acquired Ryan Ellis. They made another trade last week, trading a second and a seventh and Shane Gostisbehere to get him out. And now they bring in Rasmus Ristolainen, and that definitely changes up the blue line. We knew they were going to be bringing in some of their younger defensemen next year, guys, specifically like Cam York and Wyatt Wiley. So guys like Robert Haig, Philip Myers, Shane Gostisbehere, we're going to make it more difficult with them in the lineup, and they are all moved out now. So this creates a lot more room and a lot more flexibility for the Flyers to continue to shake up their defense this year. So let's look at the trade details. So the Buffalo Sabres get Robert Haig, 26-year-old defenseman. He gets between 10 to 15 points per season on a regular 82-game schedule. He's making $1.6 million AAV for this season, and he will be an unrestricted free agent next summer, as well as a 2021 first-round pick from the Flyers, which is their 13th overall selection this year, and a 2023 second-round pick. Going to the Philadelphia Flyers, the Flyers pick up the final year of his contract, Rasmus Ristolainen, same age, same draft, 26 years old, and he's on pace for 30 to 40 points per season, a good second-pairing defenseman. He's making $5.4 million, and like I said, is in the final year of that deal, and next summer will be an unrestricted free agent. So, what are we looking at here? Well, Robert Haig going to the Sabres, I mean, this isn't bad. This is a guy that's going to help round out that defense that was really bad last year. And Robert Haig adds a little bit of sandpaper to your lineup, and he's a good third-pairing defenseman, if we're going to be honest. The big pieces of this trade for the Sabres were that 13th overall pick and the 2023 second-round pick. And that's a pretty high price tag. A lot of people are saying Risto doesn't leave for anything more than a second. Well, they just traded a first, a second, and a third-pairing defenseman for Ristolainen. So now the question is, what's the price tag for Jack Eichel and Sam Reinhart? Because if they could get a first, a second, and a third-pairing defenseman for Ristolainen, the price tag is going to be even higher for guys like Reinhart and Eichel. So going back, so that's the Sabres side of things. Now we're going back to the Flyers, and their defense looks very different now. Just, again, this is a rough copy of what they could look like next year, but you've got Ivan Provorov and Ryan Ellis as your new top pair there in Philly next year. The second pairing and the third pairing on the left side, we don't really know what they're going to do, because do you bring in another depth defenseman? And I could see them making a free agency move. I don't know what kind of guy you're looking at. That's why I think Ryan Suter is a good fit. He would fit in well in that situation. But on the left side, I have Cam York and Travis Sanheim rounding out those bottom two pairs. And then Risto and Braun on the right side, as well as a guy like Wyatt Wiley, who we've been talking about could make the lineup. He's 21 years old. He'll be 22 during the season. We could see Wiley getting some action in the NHL, more than likely playing in the American Hockey League for most of this year, though, for the most part. So, like I said, Provorov and Ellis, York, Cam York, Rasmus Ristolainen, Travis Sanheim, and Justin Braun. That's a pretty solid top six. Now, again, you're relying a lot of potential on guys like Cam York and Wyatt Wiley in your depth. And that's why I think I could see the Flyers still adding another depth defenseman, a cheap 1-year, $1 million contract defenseman, just to help round out the depth in terms of injuries, and a guy they could pretty much leave on the scratch pad as competition for guys like Sanheim and Cam York on the blue line. I really like this move for the Sabres because not that they won the trade. Let's be honest. They won that trade, but you don't know what that 13th pick is going to be. You don't know what that second rounder is going to be. You know what Robert Hagg's going to be. But the first and the second round picks, they look good now, but in a draft that is so up in the air, maybe the Flyers were thinking, you know what? I don't even know who we're going to take at that 13th pick. And unless a guy like, Owen Power somehow fell into our lap there, or even a guy like Matt Beniers, like William Eklund, Brant Clark, they're all projected to go in the top 10. And the Flyers spot at 13, it's not necessarily that big of a surprise that we saw this happen. I think the price tag was very high, though, and I give credit to the Sabres management. I just saw the pre-draft media press conference, from Sabres management, and they were pretty much saying, Kevin Adams was pretty honest in saying, listen, like, we want guys that want to play here, and we want guys that, fit our culture and are good people. And I think that's really where the Sabres are going. And Risto obviously didn't want to be a part of the fold. They were able to get a really nice package for him. It just seemed like a good fit. And worst case, if Robert Hagg doesn't want to re-sign with the Sabres, or at least put pen to paper before the trade deadline, Kevin Adams can flip a guy like Robert Hagg for maybe a third or fourth round pick and pick up even more value from a guy like him. And who knows, if he plays in the top 4 for the Sabres with guys like Rasmus Dahlin or potentially an Owen Power, if he actually plays this year in the NHL, Robert Hagg could maybe fetch them a second round pick again, depending on how good of a season Haig has this year. So let me know in the comment section down below, guys. What do you think of this trade? I have to give the dub to the Sabres here today, but Ristolainen at this point is the best player in this trade. The question is, I think he could fit in really well with Philly, but there is questions. Will he stick around long term? You just gave up a first, a second, and a depth defenseman for a guy that may not even be here a year from now. And the Flyers missing the playoffs last year, obviously they have to make the playoffs. So let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys like what we're doing here at Goal Line Hockey, want to see the latest news around the NHL, especially here as we get into the NHL entry draft and beyond, going into free agency and into the summer and eventually into next season, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and an even bigger subscribe down below. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys next time.